It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Folks, we have these segments called Young Conservative or Conservative Future. We want to highlight younger people who are in the movement, people that you need to know. Please welcome to the program. We have Mr. Brian Plumlee is with us. Brian, welcome to Conduit News Radio.
Hey, nice to be here.
So, first of all, Brian, you're 32 years old, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, that is still young. In my opinion, I just turned 34 the other day, and so I've got to believe that 32 is still young, and so I wanted to first of all congratulate you because you are the chair of the Baxter County Republican Party, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So how did that happen? How did you get involved? What makes you a conservative?
You know, I would say more than anything, for several reasons, but I would say that I've been a lifelong Republican, but I will say that I think I've taken a greater interest over the years, especially leading up to Donald Trump running for president. For a long time, I thought with the Republican Party, I thought that there were little things that I thought that we needed to change. I would say pretty much on trade. I feel like we've been getting a raw deal for a long time. The idea of globalism is not something I'm fond of. And I think when he started to run, I started to take. I've always been interested. I watch Fox News every day. And try to keep up with the news the best that I can. I've been doing that probably since I was 15 years old. But I'd say when Trump announced to run for president, I started taking a greater interest in politics and conservatism.
So you have been a lifelong conservative or a lifelong Republican, but you say you kind of. So do you think you really got engaged? Though, is that what you're saying with this? The 2016 election really kind of lit a fire under you.
Yes, I can remember the day that Trump announced, and I sent a text message to friends of mine, quite a few down in Little Rock who are representatives and senators, and I can remember getting so much negative feedback. It was unreal. Like, those people would not talk to me. There was a handful the night that Trump won that sent me a text message and said, "Hey, you were right. He won the whole thing."
Now, you mean the night that he beat Hillary or the night that he got the nomination?
Well, both, actually, to be honest with you. There was many people that did not give him a chance, and it really got on my nerves that so many people have gotten to a point to where they take no pride in our country. I mean, all these other countries have walls, they have borders, and I don't know why we're not any different. Mm-hmm. And so many people hate that in the political arena anyways. Yeah. The American people, on the other hand, want that type of deal.
Well, so let me ask you this, Brian, because I would have probably been one of those people that not that I wouldn't have talked to you, but I would have been one of those people that, I wasn't for Trump in the primary, right? I mean, and it's just because I'm a talk radio host and I've been talking about, really specific constitutional issues for years and that sort of thing. And Donald Trump, you didn't hear any of that. You heard just kind of more platitudes, not the specifics. And so I definitely wasn't a supporter of his in the primary. When he won the nomination, I will admit, I just, I had some problems at first, maybe for like a week. I was upset about it, and I kind of wanted to just take my ball and go home. But then you realize, wait a second, Hillary Clinton cannot be president. And it ended up being like the easiest vote I ever made. And now to see what he's doing, to see his successes, to see the potential denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, to see Saudi Arabia recognize Israel's right to exist, to see what Donald Trump did yesterday at that NATO breakfast, calling out Germany for having 70% of their natural gas or their gas is coming from Russia, and yet we're supposed to spend 4% of our GDP to protect Russia in the NATO alliance. I mean, it is just and not to mention the Supreme Court nomination and kind of confirmation of Neil Gorsuch. I mean, he really has delivered. Not to mention the embassy being moved to Jerusalem. I mean, it's really crazy accomplishments. That, I mean, there are still never Trumpers who claim to be conservative out there that, don't understand, the gravity and the things that he's doing that are good for this country.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and there's some of that out there. And I'm with you. Like, I had many people. I believe in the Constitution from beginning to end, and I did have people out there that at that time that it was really pretty much, I think, for the most part, there was people like me that were for Trump, and there was other people along my same beliefs that were for Ted Cruz, and I think either one would have been a great pick.
But here's the thing.
Well.
Yeah, I was a Ted Cruz supporter as well, but I don't think Ted Cruz could have won Pennsylvania. I don't think he would have won Wisconsin. You know what I mean? I mean, it was absolutely the perfect storm for somebody like Donald Trump to appeal to those northern independent voters.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're talking with Brian Plumlee. Now, Brian, what do you do aside from being the chairman of the Baxter County Republicans? Do you live in Mountain Home?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what do you
do? I'm the city clerk here in Mountain Home. I was elected 8 years ago, and I was actually, at the time that it happened, it was in September of 2010. I was the youngest, to my knowledge anyways, the youngest elected official in the state of Arkansas at that time. And then, ironically enough, 4 months later, Richard Castor took office, who was our former county chairman, and he was 18 years old at the time.
He took your title then?
Yes, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. I hear Richard does that. Me and Richard are good friends, so I can make fun of. I can give him a hard time. Well, so that's fantastic. So you're the city clerk. So what do you try to? Obviously, as a conservative, I mean, you see the inner workings of government, and do you are you a limited government guy? I mean, when you think of conservatism,
absolutely.
Do you think limited government?
Absolutely. And I think that's what's sad. What we see so much today when it comes to state government, local government, and education. So many people, when it's not their actual money, and I'm not necessarily referring to our city. I think we do a great job of doing with what we have. But I see all around when it comes to, to local government, county government, other places, and state government, and education, I see so many times where people want more. Like, there's never, you give them a budget, it doesn't matter how much you increase it, they're going to want more. Like, they're going to spend it no matter what. And I'm a believer in limited government.
Okay, so you just raised a great point, Brian, because what we talk about on the program a whole lot is because of what you just said. If you give it to them, they're going to find a way to spend it, whether it's the local level or whether the state level. So if we want to control the size of government, we've got to give government less money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yes.
You got to cut off that flow of revenue to them and force them to shrink, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this, don't get me wrong, when it comes to, we'll say, for instance, state taxes, somebody and money pays for those roads that we pave. On the same token, too, it baffles me, like on my level, I can remember the first year that I got there and with the city of Mountain Home, and whenever we would have council meetings, I would say, hey, when we're done with the meeting, can I have your folder back? We're going to reuse them. And I can remember one council person saying, why? They cost 5 cents.
Wow.
And I told him, I said, it's not a matter of that they're 5 cents. It's a matter of principle. I try to treat our tax dollars like they are my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think enough of that goes on when it comes to government.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right there. I know you mentioned, tax dollars, state tax dollars and roads. I mean, I was just talking the other day about how, according to the last fiscal year, the state of Arkansas took a record amount of money from the people, and yet we still don't have the type of roads that we want here. We still have, we have the state police telling people, I don't know if you saw the report saying, hey, you can't drive in the left-hand lane, unless you're passing. So you don't just camp out of the left-hand lane. Well, people are camping out in the left-hand lane because the right-hand lane is going to tear up their suspension. And then we have you're taking record revenue from us, and they're obviously spending it on something other than roads because, for the last 3 or 4 years, we've had to, shake the couch, turn the couch upside down to try to get the federal matching money for the highways. And it's just extremely frustrating. And so now what do they talk about? In 2017, they tried to pass a gas tax. And they still are thinking about, passing a gas tax next time because they've got to have more money. And I'm always like, Brian, we're already giving the government money to do these things. What's the problem here? What other priorities do we have that maybe, if we're honest with ourselves, a majority of Arkansans would say, you know what, I'd rather have roads than have whatever it is you're spending this money on,
And it's out there, and I'll say this: in many cases where we are in north central Arkansas, when it comes to the roads, we've seen some progress, and but there's been many times in the past where those tax dollars have made their way to central Arkansas, to northwest Arkansas, to the Jonesboro area, and have not made their way here. It's gotten a little bit better, but I'd like to see some more improvement as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not placing blame on anybody.
No. I mean, there's certainly, that's always been a critique. Every region of the state is jealous of the other region's roads in some degree.
Yes.
The grass is always greener. That's for sure. Hey, Brian, let me ask you this: how's the economy doing up that way with Bull Shoals, Lake Norfolk? I know in the last couple of years, had those heavy rains that came in and kind of flooded everything and made the lakes a little bit less attractive for tourists. But are things kind of back to normal this summer?
I'd say for the most part, yes.
Okay. Well, that's
it helps
good.
when you have a hot summer. People tend to use the lakes more. So I think so.
Okay, good. Well, it's a vital part of Arkansas's economy, and you want, especially a lot of those small businesses around there. I mean, the last couple of years, I know there's some boat dealers and mechanics, things like that. And it's like, hey, if a big rain comes through or a bunch of rain comes through in the spring and then essentially, washes or floods the lake, it can be really devastating to some of those businesses up there. So I hope they're having a good year. Because it does seem like a lot of people are excited to cool off. Brian Plumlee, I so appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate your conservative viewpoints, and what you said about President Trump is great, and I'm glad that you're the Republican chairman of the Baxter County Committee there. That's fantastic.
Paul, I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All righty, let's do it again, Brian, and be safe. Have a great day, sir. Folks, we're going to take a break. The telephone number